The Republican Revolution did not begin in 1994, but the Republican Revolution, which began when a handful of people who believed in right and wrong stood solid behind their convictions and led our nation through the fiery crucible of a civil war to assert the principle of human freedom and national unity. I think we will, and I think it'll be because of it, and mostly because of the work of people like you. Yeah, we can beat him, is the answer. You say the courage to do it? The question was about stopping the funding for the Iraq War. I believe you would support that. Look, let me put this in context. I'll start with the fundamental premise of our party that I reiterated and reaffirmed earlier. The questions about Iraq, see, I'm a guitar player, not a singer. I'm not used to this thing. The questions about the Iraq War and funding. Now, as I said earlier, when we put it, I oppose ending the funding. I oppose cutting funding for our troops. Because I oppose America defeat in a time of war, which that will constitute. President Lincoln, through President Reagan, Republicans have always understood, again, those who seek to ensure their own liberty must extend liberty to the oppressed and enslaved. What we are seeing in Iraq is a simple proposition. One of two sides will win, liberty or tyranny. You are going to be hearing a lot about Iraq in the coming days because of the Petraeus report. And General Petraeus, in addition to Ambassador Crocker, will be issuing that report. We have already seen the Democratic Party, Harry Reid in particular, attacking General Petraeus and Ambassador Crocker personally. We have also witnessed the Democratic Party's left turning on its own people like Representative Brian Baird from Washington, who voted against the war, and yet after witnessing American progress in Iraq, came back and said we have to continue because we have a moral duty to these people. This is outrageous. When you have honest liberals that have come back from Iraq and seen that our military and the new counterinsurgency strategy is working, when you see elected leaders of the people of the United States from the Democratic Party attacking a general who is serving his nation in the field and a leading diplomat that is serving our nation in the field for political reasons in Washington, that is despicable. It goes to the fundamental context that the Democratic Party, no more today than it did in 1864, understood that if we try to jealously guard our freedom and cavalierly disregard the hopes and aspirations of others who have looked to us as a beacon of hope and a bastion of freedom for their aspirations, they will hate us. We have already seen the fruits of that hate on our own home soil. Now, what General Petraeus has done, and I can cite my record as long disagreeing with the administration's Reconstruction policy as being backward. General Petraeus has finally instituted a counterinsurgency plan because that's what we are facing. The true measure of a counterinsurgency plan is whether or not you can remove the population from the insurgents. I'll say this again. Can you get the population to turn on and against the insurgency? I believe that we're doing that. The reports that you will see on TV will tell you that. This is good news they cannot even pretend to mute. Do not make this critical mistake then. In every counterinsurgency, local reconciliation precedes national reconciliation. Ask yourself about the United States of America. Did we start with a strong, highly centralized national government? No. We went from town hall democracies to states, to Articles of Confederation, and to where we are today. And many of us in this room would argue we've gone too far down the path of a centralized national government. And yet now we are finally starting to understand that we must expect the same from the Iraqis. The Iraqis are now moving from town democracy. They are opting for liberty, the basic choice that none of us has had to make because we were born in the bosom of liberty. They are having to make the individual choice if they wish to have a government that is free. And they are making it now because of the security provided by the surge as we go into a counterinsurgency. For us to cut the funding now will not only deny America a critical victory in the war on terror, which is really a war for freedom. You will be condemning every single Iraqi man, woman, and child who believed in the United States of America's promise of freedom to be slaughtered. This may not weigh heavily on the conscience of some in Washington, but thankfully it weighs heavily on the consciences of a lot of people in the Republican Party and honest liberals like Brian Baird in the Democratic Party. Now ask yourself a question. Do you wish to see the war on terror, the war for freedom, won in your lifetime? Or do you wish to see it continue into the lifetimes of your grandchildren? The left has a very nice phrase that they use, a war without end. Isn't that quaint? The consequences of American defeat in Iraq will lead to a war without end. Because as we leave Iraq is how we will leave Afghanistan. An America that is defeated by the despicable, inhuman tactics of al-Qaeda and the insurgency in Iraq are already being replicated in Afghanistan. These tactics will continue. If we retreat from Iraq, we will retreat from Afghanistan over time. The Taliban-like regime that is already trying to destabilize Pakistan will continue and will likely be successful. And I point out to you that unlike Iran, Pakistan is already a nuclear-armed regime. The peaceful cedar revolution in Lebanon will be crushed by a Syrian re-intervention into that nation. Hezbollah will then be empowered within the area through the Iranians and the Syrians. You will see Hamas crush Fatah in the Palestinian Authority. Any hope for a peaceful resolution of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict will be gone. Iran will be the dominant power in the region. They will then put pressure on Saudi Arabia either to cut a deal with them and appease them, or they will be deposed, or both over a period of time. Kuwait and other nations will go the same way.